Christine asked to be in the family. Janelle asked to be in the family. And basically I said, if you want to be in the family, then you have to understand, I need you to run your will to mine. Are you okay with that? Because I'm going to be the head of the family. I have to take care of it. I have a very big picture. Will you understand that? Will you help me with it? And they're like, yeah, me, pick me, pick me.
Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Wednesday, May 10th, 2023, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. I have got some news for you, and this is about Janelle Brown. So we have done a video about Robin Brown, we've done one about Christine, we've done one about Mary, and this one is about Janelle because Janelle has her own story that I think is a little bit different than the rest. And Janelle's story is all about her being a really good worker and her potential planning of leaving this family since at least 2012. And let's talk about things way back in the beginning with how Kody treated Janelle, how she got into the family, and sort of dive into how fake this show is. The more people I talk to that have either been a part of the show, know the family, have been sort of peripheral to the family, or directly have interacted with them or are friends with them, the more I'm learning that so much of what they put out on this show is completely fake. And I understand that people understand that most reality shows are not real. Unfortunately, even in the comments on my channel, we get people that say things like, well, we know this is the case because X, Y, and Z, and she said this. And now I'm starting to realize a lot of those things that even I've thought were true might not even be true, because they, in many ways, have been covering up this mess this entire time. And Janelle has been not happy for a very long time, and I don't think it should surprise you. And Kody is apparently always on the hunt. No matter what they say, no matter what Robin says about how he doesn't want another wife, or he's not going to add to the family, according to people I talk to, Kody is literally the man that will flirt and try to find a new person any day of the week. Doesn't care. No boundaries, and he will do it in front of his wives, allegedly. So let's dive into today's topic. Before we do, can you please do me a big favor and give this video a thumbs up? Also, please subscribe to my channel if you've not yet subscribed by clicking on the subscribe button down below. Make sure to leave a comment. If you have something to say, click on the bell if you'd like to get notified of any time I go live or new content loads. And always share these videos with your friends. Today's video is sponsored by my eyeballs. I know they're still not doing very good, you guys, but it's getting better. Maybe next week I'll be back on the, maybe next week you'll see my face again. The infection is getting better. Okay, so Janelle Brown. Okay, so here's the tricky part is the people we see on TV are so not who the real people are in real life. The last couple seasons, some of the wives have stopped pretending. Janelle and Christine are not pretending anymore that they are going to play Kody's games, and they're not pretending anymore that they're happy. And Janelle and Christine, in this last season, their relationships blew up. Christine left, and Janelle, at the end of the season, announced her separation. Mary has played the game as long as possible. Her marriage has now blown up, and Robin just basically says whatever she needs to say to make herself look good, make Kody look good, and to submit to Kody. So let me take you back into the early 1990s. This video sources are coming from multiple places. I hope that most of you guys know that I don't come here to bring anything that is made up or whatever. I interview people every single day that know this family, and I have people that go on camera and give interviews that know them. I talk to people like Kristen Decker that know them. And so when I tell you I have sources, and if I don't tell you who they are, it's because either they need to protect themselves because they are either getting out of a cult, or they are afraid of retaliation, or they are someone that has businesses that they don't want to get involved in the fray. Got it? All right, so let's talk about what's going on. Back in the early 1990s, Kody actually met Mary. Kody and Mary got together and got married. And I was told by a friend of Kody Brown's, that Janelle actually was married to Adam Barber, which was Mary's brother, which they've talked about on the show. And once she divorced Adam, Kody and Mary were living with Janelle in a house, and they were renting from her. And Kody was really, really, really bad with money. So the way that they explained it to me was that Kody allegedly just did not have a good work ethic. He didn't have any work history. He would do just jobs that were like the bare minimum of what he thought would be the best, easiest way to make money. So for a while he sold Kirby vacuum cleaners. For a while he was a Schwann's man. For a while he was doing trade shows. Today you guys know that he does trade shows with guns and stuff. So he doesn't, and then there's a million different multi-level marketing programs that they've tried to sell over the years that usually always end up failing. Because Kody's lack of work ethic, he was very not financially well off when he and Mary got together. They were not very financially responsible. And when Kody met Janelle, he saw that she was a super good worker, extremely responsible, had a steady income and job, and he somehow decided that he was going to lure her in. And the way that my sources explained it was that Kody needed a wife that would be someone that would work for him, that would be a steady force, and that had the ethic to do the work. And they felt like because of her vulnerability of going through the divorce, that she was easy prey for Kody, and that Kody is charming enough to say all the right things to any woman that he wants. And especially if someone's vulnerable, he'll be able to, because he's such a narcissist, play into whatever vulnerability there is. And he can say whatever it is that they need to hear to make them feel like they're the only person in the world. And so he ended up getting Janelle swooped into his lifestyle, and Janelle became his worker. Unfortunately, though, Janelle in Wyoming at the time, there wasn't a lot of great paying jobs. She hadn't gone to college yet at this point. And even though she was working, it's still hard to support all the numbers of kids they were having in such short order. Kody and Janelle's relationship, they explained that Kody looked at it more as a pragmatic situation where he needed someone that was going to be his worker, and he would basically do whatever he needed to do to keep her happy, whether it was like with intimacy or whatever, so that she wouldn't leave him. But that publicly and when they were around friends, there was never any hand holding, there was never kissing, there was no physical touch. They actually interacted more like best friends, or even like not even best friends. Like Janelle sometimes didn't even like him, but they acted more like friends. And so a lot of people are like, well, how did they have kids if they were just friends? Like I said, Kody would do the bare minimum he needed to do to keep Janelle around. And Janelle honestly didn't want him around a lot, I was told. Like, she really didn't want to have to deal with him because he was such a mess, allegedly. Not long after they started having all of their kids, apparently Kody's lack of work and his lack of steady income was not helping the family, and the family was very poor. They didn't have food for their kids. Most of the wives in Wyoming had to go onto food stamps to be able to feed their children because Kody didn't want to have to go to work. And this apparently caused a lot of frustration with Janelle, who has always been such a good worker, because she apparently wanted to have stability for her kids. And so if you know anything by now, you know that she left after she had Gabriel. She had 5 kids back to back to back to back. And by the 5th baby, they were so broke. They had such little money. They at times had no food in their cupboards. They didn't have a pantry like they had in Utah. Janelle left, and she left for a couple years. She actually bought her own house, and she went to college. She was doing completely fine. And then Kody swooped back in and convinced her to come back to the family. So he preyed on her again and said all of the right things, and then she came back just in time to buy him a house in Lehigh. So she was the person that secured the home in Lehigh. The person describes Kody as being demeaning, degrading as well to Janelle, but that Janelle was not as... Christine was more like wanted the affection and wanted the attention and wouldn't be satisfied without getting affection and attention and would get really pouty and sad about it. Whereas Janelle would be more like she would withdraw, and she just didn't want to have to deal with it. So for her, it was fine if he wasn't around. It was fine if she didn't get attention from him, because it was fine that she didn't have to deal with him. I'm not really sure what made her stay beyond like the faith, or maybe it was just that she felt trapped because she had all these kids with him in such a short amount of time and didn't want the kids to grow up without their father. I mean, a lot of factors are in play, and many of the women are trafficked into these situations, and the men are very powerful. And Kody does have a tendency for violence, allegedly. So she could have just been fearful of leaving. But once she went back to him and they get back into Lehigh and they're getting ready to start the show, Kody is never settled. Janelle is doing all the work for him, right? Janelle's the only one of the wives that has any level of college education that's beyond like high school. I don't know if she has a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree. She's the only one that was able to have like steady employment, as far as like she did some temp work. And then when they were in Utah, she had a job where I believe she was working, I don't know if it was in accounting or something. She's always been very financially minded and was really tasked by Kody to help run the family finances. But Kody was blowing through money faster than they had it. And so they were always in financial hardships. Like the way they explained it was like Janelle would try to keep things together, and then Kody would just go take the money and do whatever he wanted with it. So she didn't have a say, because it was in their culture, the men make all the decisions. Janelle was not as needy as Christine, but she was also not as into it. And I don't know why she stayed for as long as she did. But by the time the show started, their relationship was not in a very good place. And the show began airing in 2010. And I was told by 2012, Janelle was already considering like what to do once the show is over. And that would include leaving Kody and trying to potentially save money to leave Kody because she wasn't very happy. So let me take you back to season 4 or 5. I don't remember what season it is, but it's at this time in around 2011, 2012. And they did so many seasons in such a short order. Like it debuted in 2010, and then by season 5, it airs 2012, because they were doing like multiple episodes a year or multiple seasons a year. So they were doing like a spring, and then they would do like a winter, or they would do like a spring and a fall. So it was like almost on all the time, and they would do less. They didn't have as many episodes in the very early seasons. And so even though it's like season 4 or 5 or whatever it is, they're like 2 or 3 years into this, okay? And Kody is very not doing things well with money. He's blowing through the finances. He's allegedly spending money faster than he can make it. He's being really reckless about what he wants to spend money on. He's becoming more and more materialistic. And apparently Janelle, who runs the finances, is keenly aware that once the show is over, they will be bankrupt, because Kody has been so disastrous with the income that they've made. It has been, he spends it, he makes it, it's gone. And apparently she was telling people, allegedly, that she was working on hiding some of the money at the time in the event, and when the show was over, that she could leave because she wasn't happy and didn't want to be there anymore, and was basically putting on a good face because they had the contract with TLC and they had the show, but wasn't happy and was faking it. So since at least season 4 or 5, Janelle has been thinking about leaving Kody. So that's 11 years. So she has been on the outs, not happy, and saying a lot of things publicly that are not true to protect the show, to protect polygamy, and to keep their contract going. And so a lot of the storylines that you see on the show are completely fake and fabricated, because the family wasn't even functioning as a family. So Janelle and Christine and Mary were basically living like ex-wives on the cul-de-sac, which Christine has confirmed this past season. And Kody and Robin were like holed up in their bedroom, doing whatever it is that they do. So Kody has, the way they explained it, a bombastic sucking personality, huge narcissist. He's totally arrogant. He treats women like absolute garbage. And even though the wives, when they were out and would be publicly doing events for the show and putting on a brave face, it was evident to the people I've talked to, and it's been multiple, that they weren't happy and that they were saying all the right things that they were supposed to say, but there was stuff brewing and there was tension between all of the wives and Kody. And as far as like the wives getting along and being friends, as everyone that I've talked to has said, that like the relationships were more like out of necessity, and that when filming wasn't happening, it wasn't like they were spending time together. So Christine and Janelle weren't going out for lunch together. They weren't spending time together. So when you're seeing Janelle film and they're at lunch and she says she can't stand doing this kind of stuff, that's because unless they're filming, they're not doing that kind of stuff. They're not interacting. They don't have lunch together. They don't hang out. It's literally for the show. If the show didn't exist, most of these women wouldn't have had any sort of relationship. He really did have 4 separate lives. And the way that they explained it to a separate source was saying to me that it was almost like Kody existed in a world by himself, and then the 4 wives had kind of like their own lives, and that like they were all sort of closed off, and that Kody just sort of like constantly was like in his own little bubble all the time, and then he would just go wherever he was going to go, to whoever's house, and they would deal with him for as long as he was there, and then he would leave. Now Robin obviously has benefited greatly from this situation, but as much as people don't like Robin and say that she has been, you know, the destruction of this, when you look at Robin's history and you look at her mother and you see that her mom was basically trafficked into this cult after she divorced Robin's father, who wasn't a polygamist, you realize that Robin's mom basically has trafficked her by bringing her kids into this group, and then Robin's sisters all end up with polygamous men. So it's like they're all just being trafficked, and the women are on the show looking happy and acting like they're happy, and in reality Robin might think she is happy because she's getting money and the house, and she's out of her poverty, but at the root of it, she's still in a very shallow water pool with a narcissistic man that now that the other wives have gone, he's going to start taking it out on her. So the way they explained it was Kody would just go from 1 to 1 to 1 of whoever he was going to pick on. It could have been Christine one day, it could have been Janelle the next day, it could have been Mary, and he always had to have someone to bully. And now that the other wives are gone, he has no one left to bully but Robin. And so if she's going to stay with him, she's going to be his target. That's just how it works. And he's never going to be satisfied with just being with one woman, because another thing they were saying is that Kody literally will be out with the wives and he flirts with other women. He's constantly looking for another person. He's constantly looking for another conquest, allegedly. He's constantly looking for someone else, the next big thing, the next toy, and that he does this in front of the wives, and that they just sit there and they're like, are you okay with this? And the wives will just be like, yeah, that's just who he is. I mean, it's part of being in this process. Like, they know at any time he can decide to bring in another wife. And while he'll say that the other wives are doing it for him, he's literally the one that's on the prowl looking for other women to add at any time. So that's kind of leading me to this last point of like, Janelle have been so miserable since 2012. The family finances have been a wreck since then. Kody has lost income now because he was basically using the money from the show as his own and recklessly spending it, going on all these different, like, moving and buying big houses and not investing and not being practical and not being responsible. Janelle, I don't know if she was able to stash that money away because he found ways to spend the money, buy the houses, move them around. So I hope she has that nest egg that she was saving. I hope she still has that nest egg so that she is safe and can really leave Kody. And I hope that Kody doesn't come back to her and prey on her again and prey on her vulnerability and say the right things to her. Because the one thing that these people that know Janelle is that they all say, and I'm going to say this, they all love Janelle. I've not met a single person that says anything bad about Janelle. I've actually met now one person that didn't like Christine. I'm sorry I said it. But most people have nothing negative to say about her. Most people think she's logical, pragmatic, and don't understand why she was stuck in this for so long. And most people are hopeful that this is the time that Janelle is done for good and that she doesn't go back. And really, the only reason these wives were staying with Kody was for the show. If they didn't have the show, they wouldn't be with Kody. And I'm pretty sure that if Kody's show ends tomorrow, Robin will be gone too. It was all fake, allegedly. I'm just really proud of Janelle for thinking ahead of time, and it makes sense because she told Christine that she needed to save money and get ready to leave. So kudos to Janelle for taking off. Don't go back, Janelle. Don't go back. And who wants to bet that the minute within 5 months of the show being canceled, they end up bankrupt? Tell me what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye, guys.